Unimaginable scenes in Cromwell, Connecticut. 72nd hole, Tommy Fleetwood, center cut. What he does best in this world is ball strike. Changes the club, leaves it short. Door open for Keegan Bradley, sitting one shot back, and Captain Keegs stuffs one in front of the pro-Keegan crowd. Now, Tommy, with plenty of work to be done, not only does he leave it short, he leaves it outside of Bradley's mark. Sir, you are still away. Fleetwood, now with the putt for par, it goes begging on the right. It sets up a moment for Keegan Bradley. New England's own, trying to claim his second Travelers in 3 years, and he does it. A two-shot swing at the last, and it's Bradley in regulation. New England's own owns Cromwell once again. Taking a look at your leaderboard as at win number 1 for Tommy Fleetwood continues to elude him. This tournament was his for large swaths, including Sunday. A shaky start for Fleetwood, righted the ship in the middle, but more issues on the way home, including the last. But this will not be the last we hear from Tommy Fleetwood. This day belongs to Keegan Bradley. Post round is presented by the TP5 and TP5X golf balls from TaylorMade. Shane Bacon says it all with hands to the face. It's great to see you as always, Shane, and I think we can just go ahead, rip it up. This is not the end scene we had. The notes are worth nothing now. Your initial reaction to what we saw over the final 10 minutes of this tournament?
You know, Joe, I was writing down the best golf tournaments of the year about an hour ago, and I said the majors are the majors. This golf tournament, I think, along with Scottsdale, just delivers every single year. It's the back nine is awesome. But, I mean, even the good ones don't deliver this way. The Henley pitch-in we didn't even talk about to give himself a chance at 18. Impossible shot from an impossible lie. You have Fleetwood kind of leaking a bit of oil on the way in after it seemed like he took command. I think there was a Vince Young tweet floating around, or excuse me, a Vince Carter tweet floating around for a bit there as well. And then obviously the three putt there. And I think that'll be the big question mark for Tommy Fleetwood. But I mean, Keegan Bradley, he putted it incredible today. I mean, he made everything. He made long distance putts. He made clutch short ones. It seemed like the kind of shaky sand wedge there at 14 was going to lose it for him, but he bounces right back. And I mean, Keegan Bradley's playing some of the best golf in the world right now. And I know he's the captain of the Ryder Cup team. We'll get into all that. But, I mean, if this guy's not wearing red, white, and blue, it's a disservice to the Ryder Cup team, I think, in terms of talent. He's one of the 12 best Americans clutching up there on the last.
Yeah, pull out the earpiece and pick up the club. Captain Keegs has more to offer than just thoughts and pairings. This is a man who's playing high-level golf. We'll explore it all at length coming up here on HQ Post Round. But my mind and my heart immediately goes to Tommy Fleetwood, still in search of that first career PGA Tour victory, Shane, and it seemed like today would be that day. This week would finally be that week. It all lined up for him, and I want to take you out to the middle of the fairway on the 72nd hole. He clubs down, goes to the pitching wedge. What did you see in player-caddy sort of conversation there that led him to come up short for that final green?
You know, I mean, you never want to be between clubs, when you're in a position and in a place you've never been before. I mean, this is a guy, and we talk so much, Joe, about the lack of wins on the PGA Tour. I mean, this guy's won some of the biggest events on the DP World Tour. He's been there. He's hit shots at the Ryder Cup. I'm sure he was nervous, and I'm sure you could kind of see it in that conversation. But you want to have a club you can commit to. And you could see there was a little bit of different opinions between caddy and player. And that's the worst possible situation to be in when you're nervous. I mean, you want to make a full swing with a golf club everybody on the team is comfortable with, and you go back to the bag and change clubs. I mean, the CBS team always does an incredible job, but Jim and Trevor just nailing that. I don't like this. I mean, you could hear it in their voices. They were discussing it. And then, of course, the shot comes up short. And then credit again to Jim on the putt. I mean, it felt a little rushed from Tommy. It seemed like he kind of got up there and hit it. Obviously, when you're nervous with short game shots, you typically leave them short. He leaves it, 6 feet short. And it almost seemed inevitable that wasn't going to go in after the great play on 17, really after the bunker shot you saw there. But, when you're a caddy in the biggest of moments, you want to be the calmest you can be, and you want to give your player the utmost level of confidence over that golf swing. And when you're between two golf clubs, it just didn't feel like the team, if you will, was on the page they needed to be for that level of golf shot.
One of the preeminent ball strikers on the planet Earth. And he comes up short from the middle of the fairway on the final hole with his first PGA Tour win right there in his hands. Shane Bacon, we will explore plenty more coming up here on HQ Post Round. Thank you. All right, we wanted to bury this one. We wanted to dirt it. stop it at 41. Well, it grows to 42. Most top 10 finishes without a win on tour since 1983. Heartbreak once again for Fleetwood as it's on to 42. More to come here on HQ Post Round. Straight ahead, we'll take you out to that very scene. Trevor Immelman standing by in the Super Tower. That's next.
It sets up now for Keegan Bradley to overturn it all at the last hole and win it with one putt.
A Keegan comeback not to be believed.
It was another unimaginable ending in Cromwell, Connecticut, as Captain Keegs reigns supreme, a two-shot swing at the last as Bradley snatches victory from the jaws of the fleet. And for more, we take you out to the Super Tower, where CBS lead analyst Trevor Immelman is standing by as the confetti continues to fall, or so it feels here, Trev. What a moment and what a finish to the Travelers Championship once again. I know we could pick apart some of those final decisions, but talk to me about the mettle required of Keegan Bradley to stay in the fight on this Sunday when it seemed at moments he was a bit too far gone.
Yeah, just so impressive from him down the stretch. I mean, the way he played the last 4 holes was just impeccable. But he was let off the hook by Tommy Fleetwood. You know, Tommy Fleetwood was the only guy in the top 15 on the leaderboard to shoot over par today. Started this round of golf with a 3-shot lead, and everything was starting to line up for him. But he just couldn't take advantage of it down the stretch. And I think it started back on 14, the par 4, where he hit a great wedge in there to about 6 feet. He had an uphill left edge putt and left it short to the right. And then things just slowly but surely started to unravel. And that's seen on 18 when the crowd really got fired up and got behind Captain Keegan. It was quite something, and he had the opening and he stepped through. I mean, that putt was no gimme. You know, you got 5 or 6 feet there. It's breaking to the right. He's just seen Fleetwood miss to the right, but he jammed it right into the middle. I mean, that was, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the last few minutes there, Moose.
Bookend issues for Fleetwood, and we must look at this one through his lens. The issues to start and then the issues coming home. I'm often interested in your point of view on these sorts of things, having felt these sorts of emotions before. Does this sort of heartbreak make Tommy Fleetwood feel closer or further to that ultimate goal on the PGA Tour?
Oh, it's going to be so hard for him to really feel anything for a while. This is going to sting. I mean, this is now his 6th second place finish on the PGA Tour. And we always caveat with that saying, oh, well, he's won a lot around the world. He's won 7 times on the DP World Tour. But we know how much it means to win on the PGA Tour. And he's had so many opportunities. And this right here was about as good of an opportunity as you're ever going to get. I mean, he's got this lead with just a handful of holes to play and couldn't quite get it done. This is going to sting for a while.
It certainly feels that way right now, in our heartfelt thoughts here go out to Tommy Fleetwood. I know nothing is lost but a golf tournament, but this is someone who it feels like the collective emotion on the tour wants to see it happen. His peers want to feel this happen for Tommy Fleetwood. It does not happen on this day. A final thought here on our champion and Keegan Bradley. Again, your experience so invaluable to us, having captained a President's Cup team. Could you imagine hitting golf shots on top of your responsibilities those sorts of weeks? What's Keegan Bradley to do after a win like this?
Yeah, in my opinion, there's just no way that you could be a captain nowadays of a Ryder Cup or a President's Cup and play. There's just so many responsibilities that is at the feet of the captain. So many decisions that need to be made before the tournament and then during the week. You want your players to be single-minded, to be focused on themselves, to be focused on this high-pressure situation they're in. But now you've got a guy in Keegan Bradley who absolutely should be playing. You cannot even start an argument with me trying to explain that he's not one of the 12 best American golfers in the world. In my opinion, he's in the top 6 or 7. And so they're in a tough spot right now. The water's just got a little murky for them because how does he not play at this point? He's playing so well. He's had 4 wins on the PGA Tour in the last 3 years. He's won this tournament twice in the last 3 years. And gosh, some interesting times ahead for the American team trying to figure out exactly how they want to go about this.
A straight shot across the Long Island Sound.
I just want to say this, though.
Please.
I just want to say this, though. Sorry to interrupt you, Moose, but I agree with exactly what you said earlier about Fleetwood. I mean, you're not going to find a guy that's more popular on the PGA Tour than Tommy Fleetwood. Everybody knows his potential. Everybody knows exactly how talented he is and how good he is. And you know, this is a tough one for a lot of guys to watch, because you want that guy to have that experience of winning out here, but he's going to have to wait just a little longer.
I appreciate that sentiment echoed once again here for Tommy Fleetwood, who lets one slip through his grasp on this day. He will wait for that win, and Bethpage awaits straight across that Long Island Sound. Trevor Immelman, appreciation as always, my friend.
Thank you.
Wow. What a tournament. The Travelers always seems to deliver. You know what else delivers? The TP5 and TP5X golf balls from TaylorMade. Scan the QR code right there to learn more about the best balls in golf. More to come here on CBS Sports HQ. A family affair always for the Bradleys in the Northeast. A winner once again, Keegan with the trophy. We'll react more next on HQ Post Round. Something about that Connecticut water always offers things like this, whether it's Jordan Spieth from a bunker, Harris English in an 8-hole playoff, Scotty Scheffler taking 6 out of 7, or Keegan Bradley doing what he did 2 years ago and winning once again, only this time in a come from behind on the final hole of regulation, taking down Tommy Fleetwood with a birdie at the last. Captain Keegs, your winner at the Travelers. Back in to explore more with Shane Bacon and Patrick McDonald. Patrick, Shane already gave us the Home Alone face, so I just want your reaction to what we just saw on that final green in Cromwell. How are you processing this latest instance?
I'm still processing it, Joe. I mean, that was unbelievable. Like you said, the finish there in Cromwell always seems to produce. It seems like the only thing that we were missing this year was the protesters on the 18th green. They were probably a little mad they didn't get the shine this year. But, man, I think about Keegan Bradley, and I was thinking about it all afternoon, how he is just one of the most fun players to watch while in contention. He gives you everything, fieriness. He's never out of the fight, a little bit of anxiety with how jittery he is. And it felt like that was a big moment on 14 where Tommy Fleetwood had a real chance to slam the door shut. Keegan Bradley with a bad lie from the greenside bunker. You think that ruins his chances? And then you fast forward an hour, Keegan Bradley never gives up. He stays in the fight. He keeps on chugging along, and somehow, some way, he makes that birdie on the 72nd hole to win his second Travelers in the last 3 years.
Shane, you were doing some work on the resume here, and it's one that continues to grow for Keegan Bradley following this win. We'll obviously offer thoughts here to Tommy Fleetwood, who essentially gift-wrapped it with his play at the last. But how do you really measure that resume as we move forward? There was sort of a trough in the production years for Keegan Bradley after a hot start to his career. We're now producing once again. What's it all add up to, this latest win?
Yeah, I mean, you look at Keegan Bradley at 39 years of age, and obviously we love to measure stuff by major championships, but I mean, he has 2 signature wins now, obviously both those at the Travelers, a couple of FedEx Cup playoff wins as well. He's won in Japan. I mean, this guy is producing victories. You're now talking about a player that could get to 10 wins in his career. I think there's an opportunity for him to continue to contend in major championships like we saw him this year at the PGA. He's still plenty long, and he's got a ton of game. And I mean, Patrick nailed it in terms of the excitement. You know, Keegan is a little bit of a throwback player. You know, you don't see a ton of excitement from the young players anymore. They actually like being a bit muted. Keegan's out there, I mean, riling up the fans, and he's fist pumping around the world, and he's screaming. And it's not always the cleanest celebrations. That's not a golfer. That's not really in the golfer DNA, but he wants it. And you think about how much this golf tournament has meant to him. You almost count these as a win and a half for, you know, the crowds and the fans, and obviously the pressure he puts on himself coming to the Travelers and trying to win this golf tournament each and every year. The golf shots down the stretch, the putts all day long. I mean, he was the guy that if Tommy was going to let it go and kind of get loose with the golf swing down the stretch, Keegan was sitting there going, I'm not going to be the guy that looks back and goes, man, I had opportunities to get this thing. He actually took control of the golf tournament with some of those putts and the bounce backs after some of the loose swings. The sand wedge at 14 just didn't bother him. He bounces right back and hits golf shot after golf shot after golf shot. And you talk about clutch. I mean, the drive, the wedge, and then obviously the putt at the 18th. I mean, Keegan's going to remember this one. I feel like he'll remember this one up there with that win at the PGA Championship.
Embraces the moment, embraces the crowd. The Northeast own a winner once again here in Connecticut. And it's not far from here that we will contest a Ryder Cup at Bethpage. We know Keegan will be there. In what capacity we can explore here in a bit. Tommy Fleetwood will also be there, but in this moment, Shane, you just want to put your arm around the guy. He comes up short once again in search of this first career PGA Tour victory, and it sort of has that air of if not now, then when. I don't need you to answer that question because it's unanswerable, but I asked Trevor the same. Do you feel like we're getting closer with this latest innumerable heartbreak for Fleetwood?
I think this one will feel further away. I love the question you asked Trevor in that regard. Does this make it easier to kind of swallow and say, man, I'm getting closer and closer? Now 6 second-place finishes on the PGA Tour in his career. What is that now? 159 starts for, Tommy Fleetwood. I mean, this guy's now had a pretty long career on the PGA Tour without getting over that hurdle. And I think for Tommy Fleetwood, I mean, there are guys, and Scottie Scheffler's one of them, that make winning look so easy, right? And then there are guys that make winning professional golf tournaments seem so hard. And I hate to put Tommy Fleetwood on that list, but coming down the stretch, you're just kind of waiting for the missed putt or the loose iron shot or that lag putt there at 18 coming up 6 feet short. And then you kind of inevitably know that might miss. And if it misses, it felt like Keegan was going to take control of the golf tournament. But, for Tommy, this is going to be a couple weeks of, kind of licking the wounds. He said after his round, I'm mad, I'm upset, I'm sad, all of the emotions kind of pouring out of him. But I do think for Tommy, it's locked back in season because I do think the golf course and the Open Championship fits his game as well as any of the majors. And I feel like if Tommy can get back and say, I am playing good enough golf to win big golf tournaments, let's make it happen at the Open. I feel like Tommy's one of my 5 names that I'm going to put on my power ranking list.
Yeah, absolutely. I look at when Kyle Stanley lost the Farmers and then the next week he won the WM Phoenix Open. I think we're always quick to judge in the golf space about the now, the recency bias. It seems like we always get caught up into it. But I think this 2-week break for Fleetwood and coming back at the Scottish Open, I'd be shocked if he's not putting himself back into contention too. And like Shane mentioned, it was almost like watching a horror movie or a car crash where you're just waiting for it to happen with Fleetwood. And I go back to that putt on 14, that 6-footer. That was the moment it felt like there's always a high leverage 5 to 10 footer that these guys are going to have to make to slam the door shut. And unfortunately for Fleetwood, he was playing aggressive the entire day, and then he got a little timid there, and that timidness kind of carried him down the stretch. Even on 17, when he hit that bunker shot, it felt like, okay, this is finally going to be the one. But a couple bad club decisions, not only the one on 18, but think about the one on 16 going long of that one as well. Just were too much to overcome, unfortunately. But with how good he is, you'd think eventually he gets across the finish line, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it's sooner rather than later.
Patrick, in those classic horror movies, the chase is always left the decision. You either grab this or grab that, and you keep on running. It was pitching wedge or it was 9-iron, and he grabbed the wrong weapon in this instance. It is his 42nd top 10 finish on the PGA Tour, as you said, Shane, in start number 159. Some quick math, a quarter of the time he is in the top 10. Not all of those are created equal, and not all of those are chances to win, but he keeps peppering the board, and maybe one of them goes. It felt like this Sunday might be that one to go. Let's get back on Keegan here for a moment because, Patrick, there's a decision to be made, and I'm not sure an easy answer to that decision as we continue to turn our attention to Ryder Cup play with our winners week to week. But this one's different. This is the captain. What does he do? Does he pop out that earpiece and just go full player? Because, as Shane put it, there is no arguing he is one of the top 12 best Americans playing golf this season.
He has to play on the team. I think he'd be doing a disservice to the team if he's not playing, if he's not hitting tee shots, if he's not rolling putts in, and especially with how engaged he gets with the crowd while in the arena. And I go back to what Keegan said at his introductory press conference where he wanted a lot of new blood in that leadership room. And you saw it with his early assistant captain's picks. You had someone like Kevin Kisner, who doesn't have experience. You have Webb Simpson. You have Brandt Snedeker. None of those guys have been in any sort of leadership role in terms of the Ryder Cup. And then his latest one was Jim Furyk, a former captain, the guy who just captained the President's Cup team, the guy who has a great relationship with Keegan Bradley. He picked Keegan Bradley for that President's Cup team. I think that selection was very intentful. He did it with an eye to potentially being a playing captain. And so I think he'll take some of the roles, Jim Furyk that is, that Keegan will have. And Keegan should 100% be on this team, especially when you look at that back end, the last, 4 or 5 players. It's pretty sketchy right now, and Keegan Bradley definitely shores it up.
You know, Joe, I think about being a captain or a coach of a team, and with that comes a lot of responsibility. Tough decisions come with that as well. I don't think we always put the Ryder Cup or President's Cup captains kind of in the same vein as we do with coaching. You know, when you think about coaching college football or in the NFL or NBA, but that responsibility comes with putting the best players in the best position to win. And when you're the captain of this team, you have to look at yourself and say, I am one of the best players. If I want America to win the Ryder Cup, and they are going to be the underdog, and even if the odds say they aren't, they're going to be the underdog in terms of play when you look at the Europeans versus the Americans. Keegan is one of the 12 best players. He's one of the guys that should be out there. He's one of the guys that should be hitting these iron shots and rolling the putts. And I think for Keegan, if the responsibility becomes too great and he can't balance both, you asked Trevor a great question about that in terms of captaining and also trying to play. And he said it'd be so tough to do so. I think when Thursday and Friday roll around, you said it. Give the earpiece to somebody else and prepare to play golf, because the way he's playing golf right now, it would be silly and it would hurt the American team not to have Keegan as one of the 12. I mean, he's earned the right to play. He's earned the right to pick himself. And I think everybody on the team, whether they make the 12 or they don't, would say, if I didn't make the team, Keegan's played better than me. And if I did make the team, Keegan being on that team gives us the best shot of winning.
Well, here's to chalking it up as tomorrow's problem, because today belongs to Keegan Bradley, the winner at the Travelers. Fellas, thank you. Don't forget, 5 times a week, it's coming your way, the Early Wedge. The latest golf wagering, news, and notes. They take you under the ropes and into the action each and every week. Scan the QR code, download, subscribe, and enjoy the Early Wedge. Hey, it's time now for your FedEx Cup update, where now meets next. Taking a look at those standings, perhaps in a moment, we say hello once again to Shane Bacon and Patrick McDonald. Thus concludes our signature events, fellas. And when we look at our champions, Hideki, Rory, Ludwig, Henley, JT, Sepp, Scotty, and now Keegan, we know that's where the big points lie as we do now look at those FedEx Cup standings. I guess I just want to ask you this, Patrick. When you look at the signature events, broadly speaking, effective in serving their purpose right now?
You know, I had my questions coming into the year because Scotty Scheffler won 4 out of 8 of them last year, and I made the hypothesis that it's actually become harder to win on the PGA Tour because these guys are playing in all the same events when normally they won it, right? You'd have to play in those Gen Pop events now to win, kind of like Victor Hovland did at the Valspars Championship, and we saw the parity this year with all the different winners, 8 different winners, some coming out of the blue, sort of like a Sepp Straka, who's had a career season, JT resurging as well. So I think this year the signature events did exactly what they're supposed to do, coming off a year where Scotty Scheffler really dominated them.
I mean, the signature events are meant to bring the stars out. And I mean, Patrick put a tweet out there with all the different names winning this year. I mean, it's different than last year. Obviously, Scotty kind of dominating everything in professional golf a season ago. But I think these are exciting. You know, I think sometimes we in the golf world can roll our eyes at no-cut events and everybody kind of being the same in terms of top 10s. But Saturdays and Sundays have been exciting. And I mean, this was a great example of that. I mean, the weekend is great. The weekend on so many of these events were great. And you want stars to play well and win. Every sport wants it. Golf is getting it. I think they probably will take a look at signature events going forward. But you know, JJ Spawn winning a U.S. Open throws a bit of a wrinkle in terms of maybe an out of the box winner in terms of these big championships and big tournaments. But the signature events are producing the names we want to see win trophies.
Shane Bacon and Patrick McDonald. It's always fun, fellas, but especially on this Sunday. Thank you again.